just about ready to start making my Toothless the dragon model. So just checking to see if I can find the feed, and I'll just be a second. Yep, here I go. All good. And then I can kind of keep an eye on it, so that'll be better. Okay. Anyway, jump in now. So what I want to make is Toothless the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon. So I've got a rough sketch. I've been working back and forwards between, what's the word I'm after? Working back and forwards between pictures that I found on my laptop, and I've just expanded them and printed them off. So this might be a little bit dark and hard to see, but we'll give it a go. So I'm going to make an armature first. Actually, I'll leave that there. And then I've got some 18 gauge wire. I'm going to try and work mostly in 18 gauge flower wire. And it seems to be having some trouble focusing. Yeah, I'll just wait for that to focus, yeah. Okay, so I've got my 18 gauge wire and my picture. I've more or less lined it up as well as I can. And I'm just going to start by making what I can with it. So that's going to be very blurry for a lot of this, I think. I don't think I've got fast enough internet for this to give me a good picture. But that's all right, we'll give it a go. It'll be fine. So this is part of the head going into the body. Now it's important to try and twist up the sharp ends of this. So this is treated a little bit like an edible, well, I say edible, but like a sugar flower. So nobody really eats sugar flowers. Some strange folks do, but you get that. Let's work out where I want the legs to go. And yeah, I'll do the legs in white just so that it's easier for me to work out what's leg and what's not. So that'll go about there. And I'm just going to attach that. Actually, I think I need a bit more stiffness on the body. So this is one of those projects I've wanted to come back to for a while. I made one of these a few years ago and I was really happy with it, but then I was thinking that maybe it's a fluke. So it's one of those just make it work kind of moments. And let's see, just use some floral wire. Yeah, I want a bit more stiffness in the body. So just twist that down. That'll hold. Yep. Yeah, so it's just one of those projects that I sort of did late one night for a cake, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to redo it. So I've been wanting to do a larger version of it for quite a while now. And let's see. So try and get that there. Yep, it'll end up having a slightly longer tail than I wanted, I think, but that's all right. Always trim it down. So then, legs. Going to bend those back along the body, and I'm going to lash them in place with finer wire, I think. So legs will be like that. Yep. That's my leg, other leg. Yep. And I'll go in the other direction. So this is how I make all my, sorry. This is how I make all my kind of 3D models. I start with a blueprint. I work to the blueprint. So I'm just going to get some finer wire. Wandered away from my taping again. Oh well, I'll just use the expensive wire, it's fine. So I've got a couple of different qualities of wire, and I'm about to use very expensive Korean wire instead of the cheap stuff to lash this together, but that'll do. So for these, because the thickness of the wire doesn't not the thickness, the quality of the covering of the wire doesn't really matter that much. I'm happy to use the cheaper wires for them. If it was fine petals and flowers, then you'd use better wire. I'm just going to lash that together. So I'm working with 18 gauge floral wire, which is very, very stiff, very thick wire. I say floral wire, it's like for sugar flowers, but still. Just going to pinch that together. It's probably a little bit stiffer than armature wire even, so it's fine. So the armature wire is very soft aluminium, anodized aluminium wire. Just get that in there. That'll be fine. There we go. I'll just hide that a little bit. So I have a habit of hurting my hands with the wires that I use, so it's really important to tuck the wires away. So again, this is a model that has a wire skeleton, and it's going to be covered in edible materials. That is, if I can get it all to work. But it's not something that you'd eat. There's too many sharp little bits. It's really just for the sake of making it out of food product. You could do this in polymer clay or anything else. But the way I look at it is it's the same as if you're working with a sugar flower. No one really wants to eat your sugar flowers if they're wired. And you would caution someone that. So that's fine. I've got that. Yep, that works. Just gonna kink that to give it where I want the legs. And kink that to work out where I want the legs. And I'll trim that down a little bit, just so that it's more even. So I'm going to leave the legs a bit longer than I actually need them to be, because I need to make kind of hips. So if I look at this from above, the above view, I can work out roughly where I want the hips to be. Hang on, I'll just spread that way. Yep, so I can work out where I want the hips to be. That's all good. Just going to lash that together again. So the reason that I'm re-securing this is so that the legs don't just spin freely around the body, and I'll then end up just losing all the support when it's trying to stand up. It'll just spin around and flip over. So here we go. I also like to over-engineer things, just because I know how hard it is to get things to fix things once they break, so it's fine. Wow, my internet's really slow. Sorry about the quality, peeps. Anyway, it's fine. Getting better. And just turn that way. So I'm looking at that. Yep. So this character doesn't have a very thick body. It looks like it would, but really doesn't. It's a lot skinnier than you'd expect, so that's fine. Just going to jam that into the little cake round I've got here to make my life a bit easier. And that's more or less the sort of situation I'm working with here. So that should start to work well. Next thing to work on is the beginning of the wings. So I've got another sheet here for my wings. You can see just a bit of prior planning makes it a bit easier. Sorry about all the bumps. Working around a tripod that's a bit too big for my table. So just squidge that in and twist that down. That'll be the main wing. Do the same with this one. So that there. Yeah, that's more or less right. I can get it to settle in later anyway, so that's fine. That'll be my wings. And again, that's 22 gauge flower wire. And I'm just going to lash that with these. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ribs, or I don't know, kind of wing struts. 5. I can cut this to size in a moment anyway. So that's going to go there, down there. And what I want to do first, just because these can be really viciously sharp, is just twist the end of that wingtip over, because otherwise it'll get me. So done. There we go. And yeah, that's about right. So if I'm working out from the center of the little body, it's all good. Line that up to the end. Then it's going to be from about here that it's going to go out. So that's fine. I'm just going to bend those down. And I'm going to secure that with some more tape. And where does the tape go to? There. I should really mark this off with something, but that's what a smart person would do. Not what a me person would do. So all good. And just going to run that down pretty quick. So I'm just using the stretchy plastic tape. It's not amazing tape to work with. You should probably really use floral wire, but I just find this a bit easier for me. And it doesn't tend to get as gummy feeling as the real floral tape does for me. So here we go. That. Right, nearly there. That's good. That goes to there. You can see the kind of wing struts start to take shape pretty quick. And that's going to form my dragon wing, which will be cool. Just bend that back, grab my dragon, slap a wing on, and I'm going to pull that out and twist that all around the body to secure it in place, because that's got to hold quite a lot of weight. If I can get it to hook around the legs, that'll be even better, because that'll give it an anchor point, and then just bring it back. That's going to be wing number 1. And we'll do that with wing number 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've counted them, but not actually picked them up. Brilliant. Anyway, quality effort. 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. Go to this side. Oh, I just want to bend that wingtip over again. Got it. So usually when I run a class or when I run a demo, I've tested this a lot before. But this one, because it's like a Disney character, I really can't do it as a tutorial or as a workshop. So I'm just kind of having a crack at it and seeing how I go. Done. And it's going to be quite a lot bigger than the first one I did, so I'm worried that the modeling chocolate on the wings will be too heavy, but you live, you learn. It'll be fine. Give it a crack anyway. So where are we? 2 there. All just about getting it even. best thing about cartoon characters is you can usually find lots of really good stills of them, so you can find all the promotional material and the stuff like that. Oh, I've got my hair in the way. That's silly. How on earth am I doing that? That's rather impressive. Anyway, getting all in my way. Just double check that is correct, yep. Bend those down. I'll get that to that point, find where it is, and just bend them both so that it's pretty sharp. Yeah. Sorry about the quality of the video. My internet here is kind of crummy. It's just the way the streaming works. So there, bend that way. And just going to nip those in. And I'm going to use some of my finer wire just to lock all that in place. So here we go. Nearly. I'm just lacing that down the body. You end up with quite a lot of metal in this, considering. Anyway, I'm getting my hair in the way again. Cuddled up to the camera stand. Sorry. Clearly it's a high quality production. Anyway. So, nearly just finished wrapping that. And that's got quite a lot of sharp pointy bits. I'm just going to squeeze those in. And stick that back in. Alright, so that's the dragon started. Just grab a little bit more tape just to protect my fingers when I'm going over that. That's really the majority of the wings. So if you're doing a regular dragon, you'd probably stop there and you could build out the body with modeling chocolate or fondant or whatever you want to use. I like modeling chocolate because I don't have to wait for it to dry and I can hide all the seams and it just works so much easier for me. Nearly done on that bit. Okay, so there's that. And next thing will be, need the little fan bit under his bum. So how many is that? That's 3. Just need 3 for that. So I'll get 3 of the smaller ones because it doesn't need to hold up as much weight. Grab 3. And how far down does that go? It's just after the back leg, so I'll tie it around his belly. Then I can thread it down. Lay that directly on top. I can see how far down to go. So I've got my wings there, that there, and that starts from about there. Yep, so I'm in the right zone. There we go. I've got my little backy bits. And I can cut those to the right size when I need to. Same on this side. So I'll get that in a moment and we'll tidy that up. I just want to tape that down so that it's a bit easier to work with. But as I'm going, I'm just making sure that I've got anchor points the whole way and that stuff's not going to spin around the model as I work on it. Everything's as neat and tidy as I can make it, because it'll make it easier to apply the chocolate later. Done on that. Anyone who's done floristry would watch me wrapping this and just shudder, but hey, I'm not a florist, I'm a baker, so that's just the way it is. And that'll do. Alright, so that's that. Now the last thing that I need is, where's that? Last thing that I need is the tail fin. So I need to work that out. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I really only need 4 little riblets on that. And I will use a finer wire. So this is my box of nicer wires. What size will I go? 28, 26. I'll go for 26 maybe. Yeah. Yep, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 looks about right. 2, 3, 4, yep. Actually, I could do that with just 2 and just chop it in half. Save my expensive flower wire. 26, there we go. Yep. And where to put the top to that? It's over there, that's okay. I'll just cut that in half. I say I'll cut that in half and then kind of don't. So anyway, that'll do. 4 pieces. The character's interesting because it's got a broken tail fin. It doesn't have everything working for it, so this is going to be a tough one because I've got to work out how to secure it and how far up to secure it. So I'll need to secure it higher and then run these further down. I can lay this on here. And run it further down so it comes from quite high up. Yep. Okay. Then I'll be able to fan them out and make the bottom from there. So the colour doesn't really matter because the whole thing's going to be black anyway, and nothing's going to be rolled fine enough for the colour to be seen through it anyway. That's fine. Done. Yeah, that'll do. Now I can turn the whole thing over, lay it directly on my model and see how close I got. Yeah, it's not too bad. Shorten the tail off a little bit. The wings are a bit high, but it'll do. Just means I just need to turn the head over a little bit more. I can bring those up a bit higher before they come out of the body. So that'll be fine. Yeah. I can come from higher up on the back. Because if you look at that, the legs are there and the arms are up there. Not the arms, the top of the wings comes out higher. So, yeah, that's why it's important to have a reference piece. There, and that all lines up better now as well. Okay, so I can work with that. And just another little bit of tape. My whole work surface is just going to be dropped pieces of tape in a minute. Thanks, Steph. I can almost kind of see that the writing here. I think that's partly why everything's going blurry, is because I'm trying to watch it at the same time to make sure I'm not putting my stupid head in the way each time. And I'm failing at that, but hey, things happen. It's life, it's all good. Putting there. I should really use just another little piece there. Use the super fine stuff. Yeah, I'll use the super fine stuff. Where has it gone? Okay, now I can't find the piece of wire I just pulled out. That's funny. Okay. Oh, there it is. It's on the model. So what I'm doing is just securing the top of the wings. I swear half the time, oh, that is too fine. It just broke through. Half the time when I'm modeling stuff, it's just me trying to find things on my workbench. Getting there. Done. Nearly. Yeah, I just wanted to secure the top of the wings because otherwise they'll split and start to move too much. Again, it's better to over-engineer a piece than under-engineer it, so yeah, that should make my life a little bit easier. Try and keep my head away from the top here. There, that's better. Okay, so back to what I was doing. I'll start with the bum end. That'll be fine first. These might even be a little bit too short. That's okay, I can shorten the tail off. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Just trying to unbraid them. Here we go. 3, 4. I'm going to cut that a tiny bit shorter and then bend it up again. That doesn't look much sharp, that's good. Yeah. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I'll put that one up there. And I'll just fish out the scissors that I have on the table here. Oh, I've got these ones. This is a great way to blunt scissors. Alright, there's that one. It doesn't matter if it's completely perfect either because I will be adding chocolate to it and that'll hide a lot anyway. It's just if you've got the underlying structure perfect, you don't have to work as hard on getting the proportions right. So it's sort of lazy, sort of not. It's just good planning. And next bit. So back, sort that out. I'll sort that out, yep. Okay. These are a bit thicker. I'm not sure if my scissors will take them, but we'll give it a crack. That's good. Yeah, it's all good. And well, yep, so that should work. So these are quite thin wires, but they should still provide enough lift and support for the model. Just thinking about that. What I'm going to do is twist that around a few times, and then that will give it a bit of extra support. So I'll just do the same on this one. So that I've got a better chance of holding up the weight of the chocolate. So this will be the first time I've done one of these with wings that are as heavy as these will be. Yeah, I will just kink that down to match that. Yeah. Yeah. All right, do the same on that side. And yeah, although I could just eye it. There we go. Yeah, use your eyes, Robert. Better. Okay, oh, while I'm here. 3. Yep. And where's my other sheet that's got the better wing on it? That one. It's the one with the better wing. Yep. Let's kink that down. Yep. One, 2 for there. Three, 4. Oh, 4 to there. 5 to there. This will make more sense with the chocolate actually on it. Oh, I cut that a bit short, that's all right. Weld one end. Now, if I was doing this for a customer, I would bend the ends under just to make them all safe, but I'm not. I'm just doing it for me for the sake of it, so I can't be bothered. I really need to stop saying to make it look like Ikero I can't be bothered when I'm doing these things, because it's not quite true. It's just that it's not necessary. Here we go. Done. And cut. And cut. Cut. Oh, this one's behaving better. That one. Right, so that's it. That's the bone structure finished. Now I just have to work out how I want to pose him. Where's my kind of posy one? That's the sort of shape I'm after. I drop that in there. So got a little bit more of a deeper chest, and head goes, I'll try and make it look a little bit more cheerful, that's fine. They go down, that comes up, and down. Okay, so I reckon I'm ready to start adding some body. I'm just going to clean away the wires, because otherwise I'm going to end up with wires in it, which again doesn't matter because nobody eats it, but just kind of not the right thing to do. So, just knock things. And owie. Right. Yeah, that one's for body. I'll use that one for body, I think. Turn it the other way. But I don't know why I'm worried about getting pencil marks in the stuff, because it's, here we go. Yeah, got it. So this is my black modelling chocolate. It's made with a mixture of, well, I just melt down compound chocolate. I like using Calabo because it actually tastes like food. That's white modelling chocolate. And with the white modelling chocolate, I melt it, oh, not white modelling chocolate, white compound chocolate. Weigh out the little buttons of chocolate, divide whatever the weight is by 4.5, and then you get a really good ratio to give you a good firm chocolate that's easy to work with if you've got warmer hands or if you live in a warmer climate. And you weigh out the result of the the weight divided by 4.5 in corn syrup. So I use just corn syrup from the local Asian grocer, and it is a lot cheaper than the Caro corn syrup, and it works really well. This is going to be a bit bigger than I need, quite a bit bigger than I need, but I'm going to go back in and take bits out and off. There's my lump of chocolate. I've got a, whoop, keep knocking everything. Just going to run a line down the middle of that. Oh, open it up. And sort of work from there. I've got more than I need, so it'll be fine. Lay it straight on. Cut it in around the bits that you need it to come out around, so that you don't just bend your wires. Now, unfortunately, the black is really gross to work with. There we go. Just lay it straight on, because you end up with little bits of black chocolate everywhere. But the recipe for modelling chocolate, so you weigh out your chocolate, melt it down. Once it's melted in the microwave, so usually melt it in 30-second blasts. Let it come back to just above body temperature so that you're not working with hot melted chocolate. Pour the syrup in and mix it until it all combines nicely. And don't overmix it because it'll all split out. And then I put it into a large Ziploc bag, pop it in the freezer, take it out, warm it up again a little bit in the microwave if it's set too much, and knead it, and I've got chocolate ready to go really fast. So I'm just going to fold these back a little bit because they're in the way for the moment. I'm going to focus on the body first. So I've just closed the chocolate around the body. Get the position right. And I'm just going to drag the chocolate around until I get the shape that I want. So this is where it gets a bit messy. It's literally just pinch bits off and then smooth it flat again. This is one of those things that you can't really do with fondant. You can't do additive modeling with fondant, because with fondant it's pretty much a one-shot deal. Whereas with chocolate you can just keep adding and removing till you get it perfect. Just where's my side on view? So I've got this to show me how much chocolate I need. And I can see that I need less under its legs and more around its chest and back and neck. Around chest, back and neck, so I'll just grab that. Just literally drop it on. So drag that around, try and get it neat. The way to get this smooth is to literally drag the chocolate from one end to the other quite forcefully. It's fairly warm in here today as well, so I'm not trying to, I don't want to be touching the chocolate too much. One other thing that I've done, bowl of water so that I can wash my hands off, because I've got really hot hands. But there's my head in the way of the camera again, I can see it from the video's on a bit of a delay. Because I've got really warm hands, I need to keep washing the gross chocolate off them quite regularly. The other trick that I should be doing, again, it's black chocolate, so it doesn't matter as much, but when you're working with any kind of modeling, you should have a piece of sacrificial fondant that you can use to clean up your work surface so that you've got no dust there. And then once you've washed your hands, you just run your hands over the fondant that picks up any of the fibers so that you're not going to be dragging fibers back through your model. Again, it doesn't matter as much with this because it's black anyway, but it is nice to make a model that's not covered in fibers. So what I've just done there is I've got really clean hands and I've just dipped my fingertip in some of that water. I should have a clean dippy bowl, but again, nobody's eating this, so it doesn't matter. I usually have a separate one beside me while I'm working. And you can see how quickly you can get that really super smooth. So just going to wait for the camera to catch up because it's looking very blurry. Oh well, eventually I'll get good internet here and I'll be able to do these sort of things more regularly and a bit faster and cleaner. So you can get a very, very smooth model with a very minimal amount of effort, so that you've got a nice structure to work on. There we go. Now, just pick that up and turn it over. Got too much chocolate there, so I'll drag that out. And drag that through. And anytime you expose the wires, you just push the chocolate back towards the wire and encase the wire again. Works well. So this is going to be a very big dragon. All right, so I'm getting a nice shape here, and I'm going to have to stop playing with the body for a bit because I've got very hot hands and I'm starting to melt the body. So I'm just going to wash my hands off, dry them, grab that bit of fondant again just to clean them up. So it makes a difference. So that's looking good. And going to try and get that in the right position, start thinning it out for the neck. So have a look at this from above and sort of see more or less how I want this to go. So, done. I'm going to move on to the head and hopefully get this to work nicely for me. I'll move that over here because I think that's going to throw out the camera even more. Anytime I lift my hands up, it seems to throw the camera right off. So, yeah. Smooth that out. I sort of need a little wedge-shaped head. I'll just make that there. And I've got my paper that I can check it against, so I can sort of see how I want the head shape to be. There. And this is a really weird creature because the head's sort of like a cross between a cat and a cobra. So it's a bit of a tough one to get right. And it's usually when I need to start using reference materials a bit more. But that's all right, I'll just give it my best shot. So here we go. And need to thin that down a bit because I've started to get it too thick. So if I chop that down, start to get the better shape. Drag that back. And getting there. I'm going to need to stop playing with the head soon. And need that to go in there. Rip the neck off. You can see that needs to come up higher, so he's got a bit of support. Thin that down. Yeah, thin that down. And I want to double check. I've got this sort of distance correct. There. And the head pops out there. Okay. I sort of got it right. Push that on. Done. Flip down. There we go. Smooth that up. It's just a case of smoothing the chocolate onto the head and then from the head back onto the body, and it'll lock it all in place. You do that from all sides, because otherwise it won't be one solid piece. Done. Okay. Now, it's got a kind of funny, blunt little face. Need to thin it down because it's quite thin like a snake is. So done. So as I'm working on this, I'm just trimming bits out, blunt it off, drag that down, give him a bit of a nose because he's got kind of a high, weird little nose. Up in there. Again. All I'm doing is just trimming down the head and trying to get it even from both sides as I go. Just need to wash my fingers again. Blah. Clean and fondant. Try again, fondant. All right, so done. Just working through that. Bumped it. And I want to have a look at how I can get the face to work a bit better. So I just need the sides in. I'm looking at this from here. Yep. It's not got a very big head. Front slopes down a bit. Front slopes down a bit. that shape. So you guys can see what I'm working on there. I'll just bend that out so you can see the kind of shapes that I'm getting. So yeah, bend that up again. Okay, that's all good. Now I'm just going to use the mouse on my computer to flash back to some example images. And yep, so he's got a very, very narrow head, and I think I might have one that's too fat. Narrow head, the eyes are very big and to the front, quite far to the front, so just pinch that up there. Keep pinching that. They're quite high up front. Gives him a nice little nose. Drag the chin off again. Pinch that, drag the chin off again. Alright, so hopefully that's working well. Try and get it even. Pinch that out. And sort of over flattened it on one side a bit. That's okay. Just need to clean my fingers again. Ugh. Yep. Drag that over. And getting there. Right. What's important is I'm trying not to hold it in my hands for too long because I'm melting it really, really quickly. So if I let the model kind of self-support, it makes it a little bit easier to shape it without just melting it completely. So look at it from the side, and yep, I can see that the front of it is still too thick, so it's fine. Push that down. Needs a bit of a nose up here, up a bit higher. So if I pinch that off, pull that in, gives him a bit of a nose. He's got quite a blunt little head. So starting to look better. Yep. So just getting in at it from every angle I possibly can so I can see it all. Now the next thing to do is to try and draw eyes on him. So if I'm looking at this from the front, the eyes kind of go in here. Right. And I can't flick back to see what you guys can see because I've got the here. What I've done there is I've just drawn a few eyes on. Oops, sorry, just drawn the eyes on. And I'm going to poke those in so that I create a bit of space. And I poke in quite deep into the head. Oh, should really stop holding that. Because it gives it a better shape and I can backfill it more easily. Going on this side. Yep. Put that back there. Hopefully you can see the kind of eyes a little bit. No, it's really hard to get the shape, but it's getting there. Then, how does the mouth go? The mouth is sort of, whoop, just pulled the blade out of the knife. 400 of these things, and I've only grabbed the silly one. All right, so side on view, how's the mouth go? Like that. And, yep, I'm going to cut that in. Sort of goes down a bit. Cut that in, goes down a bit. Thin it off. Does look a bit dumb, but that'll do. So sort of got that happening a little bit. It's not much, but it's at least something I can start working with. Just got to get some of this black off my hands. And there we go. Oh yeah, and the black's just coloured with Americolor Super Black, so even if I'm making black modelling chocolate, I start with white chocolate, and that way I can colour the chocolate all the colours that I want. I'm going to clean off my surface here, because otherwise I'm going to get little bits of black everywhere, and I'm about to do his eyes. So for its eyes, I've got, I need to clean my hands off. So for its eyes, I've got a little bit of the green and the yellow that I've got left over from the unicorn class I did yesterday. And I'm just going to pinch that all together. The character's got these very yellow eyes, but they're slightly greener as well. And against the black, it just looks a bit better than sharp yellow. Put a little bit more green in. So that'll do. Then what I want to do is try and get 2 balls of yellow, roughly the same size. Just make sure that the eyes are the right shape. Yep. Get that back up. Go in and give him nostrils later. Oh, just gonna wash my hands again. I'm not covered in chocolate trying to, in sugar trying to keep your hands clean. And, oh. There we go. So I've got about that much. I'm going to chop that in half. I think that's too big. Yeah, I'll chop that in half again, yeah. Chop that in half again. I'm just going to pack that into the eye. Yep. Pack this into the other side. Oh, and the eye hole's not quite big enough on this side, so chop that little bit of black off, a little bit better. Yep, clean up. Try again. And it's just a case of sort of massaging the eyes into the eye socket to get them right. This one's a really difficult one because it's a cartoon character. The eyes are a little bit poppier. They hang out of the head more than they would for a regular character. But you can sort of massage them into the shape that you need, direct them to where you need to go. If this was a regular one, they'd be recessed a lot deeper into the head. That'll do. Not going to be perfect, that's okay. The wooden bamboo barbecue skewer is probably the most useful tool in cake decorating and modelling. I've got lots of expensive sugar shapers and silicone tools and things like that, but I always come back to my bamboo skewer because it works. So I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing here, but yeah. It keeps going out of focus just because my internet's not fast enough. Sorry about that. Yeah. It's just the internet won't let me stream a smooth enough video, which is a shame. Yeah, it looks super crispy in the actual camera, but when I'm streaming it up to Facebook, my internet's not fast enough for it, so yeah. There we go. So what I'm doing is using the, now it's really going to go out of focus. So what I'm doing is using the bum end of the skewer just to massage the eyes into the right shape. Just to clean it up a little bit. Try and get them more even. Alright. I'll expand that out a little bit more. Done. The bottom of his face is not quite pointy enough. It looks a little bit too turtle-like for me at the moment, but that's what I'm going to be stuck with, so that's fine. Clean up again. Next bit. So for regular characters, I usually do it this way, so I'm going to do it this way with this one and see how I go. Yeah, I think that's a good method. That one. This side. So what I do is hollow out the space for the pupil to go, and it makes it a little bit easier to load the black in without it going everywhere. Done. And if anyone has a surefire way of getting eyes even, then let me know, because yeah, that'd be great. So what I'm doing there is, oops, sorry. What I'm doing there is putting the holes in the eye so that I've got space there. Load it. I'm just going to flick back so I can see how badly out of focus it is. Sorry guys. Yeah, it's super out of focus. Okay, it's fine. Done. Yeah, we're discussing if we'd get the faster internet speed when the NBN comes through, and I think we will, because yeah, people don't want to look at blurry video. It's not great. Oh, pick that up. So what I'm going to do here is get little balls of black, and they're smaller than the size that I need, which is good because I can just pack the hole that I've created for the eye with the black. Oh, actually no, that's probably the exact amount that I need. Oh, nearly. Yeah, tap that in, and then you get a really good clean kind of eye filling. Going to grab half of that, backfill it. Tap that in. Yep. Same thing again here. I've not left the eye shapers clean here, so this could be a bit dodgy. Oh, that's fine. Oh, pull the whole lot out. One thing that's really important is I should be using my cornflour bag, which I've got out here somewhere. Yeah. So, cornflour. If you make your tools not sticky and the things that you want to sticky, then you won't have problems. So that didn't really make sense, but basically flour your tools so that they don't pull a piece of chocolate out again. And yep, that'll do. And I can reshape that. yellow down more. Done. And this is one of my favorite tricks. This is a barbecue lighter from Bunnings. It's got a really sharp focused flame. So if you run that over the surface, it just melts everything together and makes it go really shiny. It does mean that you can't really fluff with stuff though. Once you've done that, it's pretty much going to be locked in place. That's all right, I'm just going to use it to try and navigate their shape in a bit better. And I'll fix up the problem that I've got with the this eye over here, the left eye, with a little bit of a white spot. So that should help. But at least that's most of the face done. He does have little tendrils and things that go off the back of his head, and that'll help finish the look of the character overall. We'll do that in a moment. Now, normally you have to work to keep bits of black out of your chocolate, and now I've gone the other way. I'm having to work to keep little bits of white and little bits of yellow out. That's okay. So, let's clean my hands again with this. And here we go. So I think I'll work on the legs a little bit. So the legs are pretty easy. Let's just roll it. Here. Roll a piece of chocolate. There we go, leg. Run that down. And if I go this way, it'll be easier. Just cover the wire. Then you drag the chocolate up onto the body from the leg. So yeah, drag the chocolate from the leg up onto the body, because you want it to kind of start forming out the chest a little bit so that it looks like it's all one model, it all belongs. Just drag that up. Well, this thing's got really funny shaped legs, so I'm just going to get the rough shape and try and treat it like it's any other animal with the way that the legs connect. So when a leg connects, it should form a little bit of a chest or start to build out the chest a little bit, and there should be some sort of musculature coming from the back towards the arm. So, I mean, it's a cartoon dragon, like it really matters, but it's still good to try and keep that sort of modeling idea, because it just makes your figures look like you care a bit more. Done. Right, there's that leg. And from looking at it from here, you can see I've got, oh, just get rid of that message. Done. So yeah, you can see I've got one leg fatter than the other, and the chest is a little bit off to one side, so I just backfill that with chocolate. Just roll a little bit and go in and up. And done. So my black modeling chocolate tends to be a little bit softer than my others because it takes a lot of color, so it's not bad. It makes it quite a smooth product to work with. Done. Yep. Again, I'll go over it all just to get that looking nice. Okay, so there's the front legs done. Is that enough leg? I don't know if it is. Yeah, it needs slightly longer legs. I'm being a bit mean, making it too stumpy. So, here we go. But again, I'm going to go over the legs anyway later and get the nicer shape that I want. It's just so that I'm starting with something that's close to what I want. Done. So at one point I'll be able to actually take it off the piece of foam, which is pretty cool. And it'll be self-supporting. So I could even have this on a competition cake like you would with a flower, and just position it in a way that it won't need to be stabbed into the cake. So you can actually attach it to the cake just with like melted chocolate or a bit of royal icing or something like that. So actually that needs to be twice as thick, yeah. So usually if I'm making a model or a person, you want to start with a single piece, chop it in half so that you're always working with the same kind of evenness of chocolate. And you can see that's getting really shiny. It's because I've got melted chocolate all over my hands. That's a sign that I've got to stop and wash my hands. So here we go. Dump that in again. And then when I'm working, my figure won't be as rough looking. It'll smooth out and look nicer. Done. That's better. And take the fibers off with that. There we go. Nearly. Right. Okay, so now I've got my chocolate. Run a line down it. Open it up. Or in my case, smooth it back closed, but anyway. Open it up and drag the chocolate. Pull a bit of foam out. I'm using the wrong side of the foam. I'm using the cut side, which is really silly. But these things happen. Yep. So then build that up and on. You can see how you can start to build the leg so that it actually fills in the body. Done. Same thing on this side. Yeah, so what I was saying earlier was you'd usually start with even pieces. So anything that you cut for one side, you'd cut the same for the other side. And you'd try and keep it as even as you can. But with modeling chocolate, I find I don't need to do that as much because I can just keep adding until it's right. All right, so this just needs a little bit more on its bottom so that that looks like it belongs. Yep. So this chocolate's set quite well, just while I'm sitting here. So the stuff that I'm not actively working with starts to set up really quickly. So just warm that up again by working it. One of the things that a lot of people get confused by is hot hands with modeling chocolate. They think that if you've got hot hands, you can't work with modeling chocolate. The opposite is actually true. If you've got really cold hands, you'll find it hard to drag the chocolate around the model. It'll set and you won't be able to reshape it as you're working on it. Whereas people with warmer hands, as long as they're not fiddling around too much and they know to stop touching the chocolate when it starts to get too shiny or too soft, they'll have a better time of reshaping, and they'll end up with nicer models in general. Shorter one there, middle one there. Not that it matters yet, but anyway, it's fine. And a little bit of additive. Yep. So I'm actually building out the body by adding to the legs. So if I add something here, whatever I add here gets dragged up onto the body and down onto the leg as well, so that it all connects and it's all super smooth. Again, this is one of those things that you just can't do with fondant, and it's why chocolate is awesome. So, and drag. All right. I'm probably spending more time on this than I normally would for a figure, but I want to get a good photo of it and get a good finished product, so might as well do it right. There we go. It's starting to look okay. This leg's a little bit too skinny. Again, same thing, you just drag the chocolate straight on, up and over and around. Okay. Now, what's super important when you're making anything is to pick the model up and look at it from all angles, because it's a really quick way to see if you've got everything even. Got too much chocolate in under there, so I just need to trim that out. Oops, sorry. Just need to trim that out so it's a bit cleaner. Blend that through. Even though it's the bottom of the dragon and no one's really going to see it, it's still nice to have a good finish the whole way over. And done. Done. Cool. Getting there. I'm sort of making its legs longer and longer as I'm working on it, but that's okay because I can trim them down again to match. So I'm pretty happy with that body. I'm just going to grab a clean cloth for my hands because I dropped the one that I was drying them on in the water. Just be a second. Yeah, I'm getting there. Paper towel out, so that's much better. Okay. Now then, before I go on, I'm just going to do that water thing again. So nice, clean, dry hands and tiny spot of water. So it's barely enough to coat your fingers. And that little bit of water is enough that you can then smooth all of the model with it. There we go. You can get a near mirror finish on it just by dragging the chocolate around the surface and get it super smooth. Done. That's getting there. And see how you can reshape the model as you're working on it as well. There we go. I'll just grab a little tiny bit more water. One thing you've got to be careful of is not to add too much water. Then you just end up with a soggy mess. Now, I want these wings up and a bit higher and over. And this is going to mess with the focus, surely. Well, it looks fine in the camera. It's just, yeah, it'll go out of focus because the internet can't stream fast enough for us. Yep, so the longer one goes back. I'm getting lost with them. No, don't mess with the system here. Bring that one up. So you can just tear it through the body and then re-smooth the body around it to get it in the right position. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, that's going to be fairly heavy when it hits, so that's fine. So all I'm doing now is just preparing it for the next phase, which will be wings. I need to finish smoothing that down because that'll set too hard for me to be able to smooth it. Just get that there, pull those out and clean up the little bits. And more. Put that on there and blend that through. Oh, no, I should have bent the end of that off because that is actually quite sharp when you stab into it. But them's the breaks. So yeah, don't do what I do. Make sure that you bend your ends off. Getting there. This is going to be a very long video by the end of it, but this is how long it takes to make these things. They're not super quick. They take a lot of preparation and a lot of planning. And then you can usually knock them out in about 2 hours. Which I know people who are used to working with fondant and sugar paste would think is near miraculous speed, but for me it's still too long to spend on a piece. Done. Bring that down. There we go. And the cat's got opinions as well. Okay. Oh, I think my hair's actually throwing it out of focus as well. I keep putting my hair just in the camera. That doesn't help. Anyway, sorry guys. Yeah. So what we've got to do with that is just get that to a nice working consistency. Actually, I should get more of that to the right consistency. So, dump that down there. And just work that one through. Yeah, it's starting to come together nicely. It's, the face isn't quite right, but it'll do for what I want it for, which is just the idea of like how to get a reasonable looking little model. We've got a little nose. Got to put the nose in. That'll do. Yeah, and hopefully the other details added to the head will make it look nice, make it look a bit more normal. Well, normal for the character. Yeah, one thing with the chocolate is it's a bit of a pain to warm through because you've got to fold the outside into the middle, otherwise you're just melting the outside. So. And yeah, I've done a pretty good job of mixing the chocolate through. So I don't have too many lumps, but I do occasionally find a little white lump of unmixed chocolate. So now I've got that fairly warm, I'll be able to actually roll that into sheets. So I think I'll do the top wings first and then work down, because the top wings are more impressive, more fun, and hands disgusting. That's why it's super important to wash your hands constantly while you're doing this. You end up just about with OCD when you're working with the chocolate when you've got toasty hands. But it's worth it. Right. And clean it up. Okay. This here is corn flour. You're going to need a lot of it, a crazy amount. And don't worry about it being too white on the black, because you hit the chocolate with a bit of heat and all of that white corn flour gets sucked back into the chocolate, which is kind of cool, and the oils come to the surface and it goes all nice and shiny. So you've got to have flour on the top and bottom when you're rolling a thin sheet of chocolate, and it has to be reasonably warm the whole way through or it will crack. So I'm just going to dust that because that's getting a bit too shiny. And it's a ludicrous amount of chocolate, of corn flour. Way more than you use for just about anything else. There we go. And I keep picking it up and turning it each time just because then I can feel the thickness and I know that it's not going to stick. So Getting that. Yep. Starting to get to the point where it's nearly thin enough for what I want it to do. I'm going to tear that out. And where's my wing picture? Which one's got the good wing? Oh, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. That's the good wing. That's, yeah, nearly enough. Good. That's pretty thin. I could go a little bit thinner. I need it thick enough that it's not going to tear, but also thin enough that it'll actually look nice and it won't just drag the wing down. And, all right, I'm gonna move that over there for a sec. Drape this over and just make sure that it's going to be close to right. So, yeah, I've made the wings a bit smaller than they probably should be, but it'll be fine. Get my stupid head out the way again. And I'm just going to trace this onto the chocolate. It won't be exactly right, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to go along and trim it anyway. So done, swipe that. If I cut it slightly bigger than I need, it'll be a bit easier to work with. Trim that up. And more or less that shape. Okay. I don't want it too floppity. I'm just going to rest that on. I might have actually trimmed that too far, so I'll try it on the other side. Be lazy. Why not? See if I can get it to work for where I want it to. Yeah, bend that way and it'll fit. That's fine. Done. And you can see the little bits of the wing actually hold that where I want it to, which is good. So I'm going to roll a snake of chocolate, little snake of chocolate. And I'm going to use that under the wing to lock the wing in place. I just want to work out where I want that to roll from. Yep. Done. Tear that off, blend it in. Blend that all in really smoothly so it starts to attach to begin with. Turn it over, and I can see how it's going. Lay that in there. Whoop. Turn it back. It's just flopping everywhere. But yeah, I'm just using a little sausage of chocolate to attach the wing to the body. So super smooth on chop. And bend it around, so that'll be fine. I'm going to bend and chop this wing. Take that off. Just drag that around. I'm just pinching that wing onto the leading edge so that it holds it. I'm going to go under and just trim that back so that I don't just have a ton of folded ugly chocolate under there. So I'm just trying to encase the main main leading edge of the wing bone. I kept calling it ribs, it's just bones, that's what I was after, bones. You love it when your language fails you. All right, and just to make that look a little bit stronger, so I've got that encased already. To make that a bit stronger, I'm going to add a bit more chocolate up there. It's not actually needed, the wing will hold itself up, but it just makes it look more complete. So, do that again. That'll be my little bit of a my arm muscle. Oh, sorry, working that in the wrong spot entirely. Done. And paste that down again. And what I'm going to do is encase each of the, I'm just melting that. Clean that up. So I'm going to clean up that leading edge. And the more that I faff around with this, the worse it'll get. So I really need to just leave it and roll or cut pieces to cover the wing edge. And so focused on the model that when I try and focus on the screen, it's my eyes aren't focusing that way. Anyway, that's all good. Do too much fine work, you get poor long distance vision. Briefly. Just working that. I want these fairly thin, not too thin, but fairly thin, and I want them to be quite warm so that they just blend on. Chop that down. Grab a little bit of that and just start working it onto the wing. Oh. If I heat that up, so I've just heated that up so it goes shiny just where I want it. And then hopefully I can start to apply this along that and have it all stick together. I say hopefully because I know realistically it probably won't do what I want it to, and I'll end up with a mess. Nah, got it. Alright, it's not the perfect, lovely finish that I was after, but it'll do. So, just keep working them like that until I get all of them. Okay, there's one. I need 10 more to go. Oh, 9 more to go, but still. What's nice about this is once you've got one, the rest of them go on really quickly. You can see there, I've got that one. And I can actually go back through and blend these really smooth on the underside so that it actually looks good. Ooh, hit that a bit hard. Yeah, if you're not a crazy person, you wouldn't keep working on it if you've overheated a section. You'd leave it alone for a bit. Yeah, I'm conscious of the fact that people might get bored watching this. So I know that this is a tough one because I'm sort of working on the underside of the wings and you're not really seeing much, but flipping it over each time makes it a little bit hard. Pinch that along, patch it off. If you do get a hole in the wing, it doesn't matter, you can patch it pretty easily. You just patch from the underside, work with a warm piece of chocolate, poke it on. Done. Work back this way. Yep. This is where, again, make your hands less sticky and the thing that you want to stick sticky. And it'll all work for you. So I haven't got the riblets in quite the right place for how I wanted them, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. I'm just going to make it work for how I want it. Or rather how it is. Slice that up. Oh, there's another one in there. Doesn't really slice there. The other reason that you want to bend the ends of these over, and it's a good reason, is it stops them poking through the chocolate. So again, it's one of those things where trying to save time actually ends up costing you time. But you get that. Here we go. So this is what's actually going on the underside here. It's all been covered. Whoop, hang on, it's all been covered. And I'm just starting to give it a little bit of shape. So, and it's starting to set up rather quickly. So it's not a bad thing. It just makes it a little bit tougher. So if I fold the edges in between the bones of the wing, it makes it easier to see where I'm about to slice. Done. Whoop. Then I can just press it down the other way and I start to get the wing folds. So here we go. Just trim out the excess, pull it off. And this is where a tool starts to come in handy. Oops. Just be careful not to overdo it because you'll cut through the wing. But again, it's not a big issue. It all just comes back together. Okay, that's all fine. I will go back in and clean that up once the wings had a chance to set, once it's all cooled down. But I'm pretty happy with that, just in general. It's looking all right. It's not amazing, but it'll do. Next. I'm trying to be cheap and see if I can make that fit. I think I already know the answer is no, but I'm going to keep trying anyway. Nah. Start again, don't be lazy. So that wing is starting to look really nice. Oh, stab him on, it's better. Warm that up. Hopefully I'll be able to post this when I'm finished. It's becoming a very long video, so I don't know what the limit is on Facebook Lives being posted. But who knows? Stop fiddling with that. And so yeah, it's a ludicrous amount of flour, I know, but it's easier than having it stick. You can sort of see as I'm working on it, the flour's coming off it anyway. Like the flour just works in, and the chocolate can take a terrifying amount of corn flour before it starts to get brittle. Nearly. That could be a bit thinner. It's quite thin down there though, that's fine. Oh, where's my wing? Yep. Got it. Oh, that's pretty much cut through anyway. That's sort of handy. And drag that around. Okie dokie, next one. I want to give that a sweeter shape, so yeah, that's done. That's what I sort of tried to do on this one and started to fail on. That's okay. Done. Don't fiddle too much. I can work in the other direction on this one if I want. Just lay the link up bit along at first. It'll make it a bit easier. As you can see, I'm sort of making it up as I go along, but it's fine. Done. Pinch that in. Don't let that tear off. All right. Okay, look. Before I do that, I just want to make sure I've got a nice shape going on here. Go that way. That's what I missed doing on the other one. On the other side, yeah. About there. That'll do. Tweak that way. Lay that on. So the wings are actually quite heavy, but doesn't really matter as much because all those little bits of wire act as a support, so they all help to support the wing. It's got more movement than I'd like it to have, but that's fine. There we go. Yeah, if you're doing this, make sure you've got a really blunt scalpel as well. Fortunately, this is a really old one. Don't ever run a sharp scalpel over your fingers. So just hopping down and checking it from them. Yep. Okay, I've nearly got that edge sealed, which is good. I'll start rolling my snakes to get the wing attached. Little wingy riblets. A lot of debating with how I'll do the back fins. I think I'll do them with a sandwich method instead because it's a bit easier. Yeah, I'll sandwich them. Now that that's set up a bit more, I can get the shape nicer as well. I'm working really fast because this is very thin chocolate. So when I hit that with the flame, it starts to melt instantly. Hang on, I've just got to file my fingers. They're sticking to the chocolate too much. Done. So that you can see what's actually going on. Yeah. There, I'm just working that. Just working that. So all the boring underside work will be done soon. And I'll be able to start finishing up. But yeah, this is a way that you could do a really, it doesn't have to be toothless dragon, it's just I particularly like toothless. Yeah, this is a way that you could do a really intricate dragon with a lot of good proportion and good shape, and pose it in any way, and you could have it on a wedding cake and then coming around the wedding cake, or without actually being stabbed into it, just resting against it, or even climbing up the wedding cake. So when I can, I like to try and make my figures completely freestanding. It's not often I'm able to, but it is kind of fun to be able to pose them and have them wherever you want. I made a weeping angel, which is one of the Doctor Who monsters, for a friend, and they kept it in their freezer. And it pops up on birthday cakes from time to time and appears in people's rooms to scare them and stuff like that. They're a fun family, love them. Anyway, let's try and get that on. It's like working under a car, just about. Working upside down. And this would be easier with a taller piece of foam, but I'm too lazy to go get one. Anything else to lift it up higher? Next one. Oh, hang on. There. Just make it easier. Yeah, this is not going to be great video, but just trying to get it done. The next one. I'll just get this last one on and then I can show more of what I'm actually doing on this underside. Okay, paste that along. I'm getting somewhere. Good. Thank goodness for that. So I'll paste that on, hold that way. You'll be able to see a little bit more of how that's actually working. So it's a little bit messy. If I wasn't trying to hurry because I'm filming it, I'd be able to get it a lot smoother and cleaner. Also, if I had a higher stand. But no, I'm not that fussed, it's fine. Just drag that down, put that up. And let's do that muscle thing on this side as well. Just finish it off on that side first. We'll smooth it all around. So even though the wing's strong enough to hold itself up, you need to make the creature look credible. Make it look like it's actually strong enough to support its own wings. That's better. Cool. I'm just going to start shaping that out. And this one will work a little bit better because of, well, that's really set on that corner. Yeah, this one will work a bit better because I spread the pieces out properly to begin with. And I've got that carved there. Just carve that through. Hope for the best. And where does that end? That ends about there. Cool, so I can carve that through there. Done. Yeah, this isn't going to be the most symmetrical wingspan, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's fine. It'll do. Just trim that out. Good. Nice and smooth. Done. All right, oh, I've got my stupid head in the way again, sorry. So this will be much better to watch back because you'll be able to fast forward through all the boring bits and me just waffling crap. That's fine. Here we go. Got it. Alright, so there we go. Now I've got all the little bits of wire covered underneath. I really should do a better job on that, but kind of got to give up at some point. It's fine. And then just stretch that out. There. So it'll do. It will do. Otherwise, I'll just keep poking at it forever, and it's a boring enough thing to watch someone else do anyway. So I'll do the kind of back fins now. Now, this is my plan for the back fins. And they're going to end up being a bit shorter than that, I think, but it'll do. Move that over there, dust this. So again, dust the top and bottom before rolling, and turn it over each time, because otherwise it just sticks to your rolling pin. And you can see how fast you can make something with, I know that I say fast, and anyone who's got a real sense of time wouldn't say that this is especially fast, but for a 3D model like this, it's very quick when compared to fondant modeling. So yeah, not that there's anything wrong with fondant, it's just that I can do this in an afternoon with chocolate, whereas with fondant I wouldn't have a hope. It'd take a lot longer. up. Oh, thanks, Carol. And it's getting there. There's a few little issues with it still, but it's not too shabby. I can go back in and add musculature and stuff later. Let's put that under there. And so with these templates that I'm using, I looked up Toothless top view and side view, and I found one was a kite, one was something else, and yeah, just these, one was like a remote controlled toy, and I found a couple of different overhead views of the character, and I thought that was quite handy, so I blew them up on the monitor, laid the baking paper against the computer screen, and then traced it lightly with a pencil. It makes a really good template for something that you wouldn't otherwise have a template for. So you can drag the wires up through the chocolate to get them where you need them to be. And yeah, right there. Now, how did I think I was going to do this? I was going to sandwich it and hope for the best. So if I start from there, heat up that, and start from in there. Kind of don't really like my chances here, but I'm going to give it a crack. All right, dump that on top, and that's not working. You know what I've done? I've put it in the wrong way. It should have been that way. Well, that's funny. So I should have done it on this side. That's all right, I can still do that. There's another sheet. Yeah, use this sheet. I don't need to be too precise with this, but sort of having a reasonable plan helps. Okay, now let's try that again. Drop that on. Yeah, there's a much faster version. Right. Anyway. I'm not really loving the sandwich version, but not terrible. Sort of worked. That'll let me find where the edges are, and then I can trim that back. Now, how does that look? Looks like that. There we go. And that way. And drag the chocolate over the wire. I need a little sausage of chocolate at the end. That's better. Make it look thinner than it actually is just by pinching the edges at the bottom. And swipe it around again. Pinch it back the other way. If I keep poking at that, that'll get worse. So I'll leave that one. Go on to the next chunk. looking forward to getting faster internet though. When I can do these, they won't go all blurry. It's bugging me how blurry. There we go. Phone ringing. Just bring that up there. Yeah, more or less, will do. All right, that'll sort of hold itself. Hit that with that. Alright, good. Oh, got my stupid hair in the way again. There we go. I think I want that one further over, so I'll just readjust that. There we go. Yeah, the sandwich wasn't a bad option. It's just I'm not doing it very well. Nearly. I think that's how I got that shape, is by rolling the sausage along the end of it. Getting that. Nearly. Pinch that back. And that'll do. That's not perfect, but it's, yeah, it's fine for what I'm after. It's one of those little white spots I was talking about of chocolate. Just pick that out. That's just from where I've been mixing it and I've not quite got all the chocolate blended smoothly. Now the broken bit, the broken tail. Just do the sandwich on this side. Then I've got to try and make the same thing in oh, that's what I'm after, in brown. So that'll be the fake fin. Keep that warm. Go. That there. Take that on here. Try and make the model do the work for me. And drop that on. After dropping it all over myself and folding it 100 times. So, lay it on. Trim out the excess. Yep. Now that should have a bit up there. Yep, good. Okay. Start to get the right shape. There, shouldn't be quite that high. There, pinch that back over the wire. There, and there. And it's just to get the overall shape on, the tail on, and I'll go back in and push that all in and reshape it later, just so that I've got something that's actually holding on. I'll add little bones over top of it. Not quite got the right shape for it, but it'll do. It's close enough. I'll just rinse my fingers. Good. Grab some of that. I'll try and do the same. So this is how dry the chocolate gets after it's been sitting. Not dry, but how much it sets. It does get a bit of a crust on the outside, but it's not dry. Right. Now, while that's happening, I'm going to see if I'm able to send a message because I just missed a there. Good. Yay. All good. Hopefully that didn't break it too much. Oh, and in the meantime, I've messed that up. Arg. Quality effort. Right. So there. Just going to use that to tidy up. So in the first movie, the kid finds a dragon and it's got a broken tail and it can't fly away. So he builds it a kind of portable fin that helps him fly again, which is kind of cute. Squeeze that on. And the cool thing with this is that can be kept out a little bit. Done. I'm just going to pinch that through so I can see where the edges are, which is cheating, but I don't care. Done. Done. And done. There's that. So that's out from the tail. And again, I'll go back over that and put little bones over top of it. I'll pinch that in a bit. And just do the final little touches. Comes down further. So you can't quite stretch chocolate, but you can sort of get close enough to make it work like how you'd want it to. Sort of. And I'm trying to do really fine work with big fat overheated fingers. But it'll do. Done. And I'm also doing the one thing that I always tell students that attend workshops of mine not to do. If you're trying to do really fine work, start with a much bigger piece than you need, and then trim it off. Anyway, like that, much easier. Okay, let's try that again. All right, nearly. I'm fiddling around with something that doesn't matter now. Okay, leave that alone. Blend that in. Be fine. Okay. And a little bit of water on my fingers and I can smooth the wings into the back again. Get my hair out of the way of the camera again. Got the camera in a really awkward spot for where I'm sitting, so it's not the end of the world. All right. That's reasonable at least. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. Just getting there. I just need to make the head look like his little head. And he's usually got, oh, and I'm starting to get messy again. Messier again. I'm going to shrink down this page over here and I'll be able to go back to my what the character actually looks like page. Okay, grab all that off. That's the majority of the shape all sorted. Now it's just the fun little bits. So he's got these weird little doodads at the back of his head that finish out the shape. He's got two that start from just behind his neck down low, so I'll start with the ones that are down low. Oh, still got brown on me. This is what the fondant's for. Fondant gets all that rubbish that's glued to your hands off. Better. Alright, so we'll put the little doodads in on the neck at the bottom. I'm just going to do that by dragging them on. Do another one and drag it on. So all I've done there is just made a little ball shape and just dragged it onto the head. That works quite well. I'll try and do the same thing on the other side and get it completely wrong. So drag it on, smooth it in. There's two little doodads down there. He's got two bigger ones at the top. Make sure that they're more or less the same size. Close enough. Just going to drag this doodad on. Right, got that one. So if I can smooth that down a bit more, it looks softer as well. Flatten that out. And he's got two big ones towards the back that are almost like rabbit ears. So again, just start with two pieces that are more or less the same size. Try and shape them up right. And once that goes on, it'll start to look better. Yep, one. And the next one kind of goes there, back a bit more, and then I can drag it on. Oh, there. And drag it on. Done. Okay, so they're those two at the back. Yep. Okay, they're further over. And if I'm looking at that from the front, they're further over. Okay, so that's getting there. Okay. Then there's two little ones in between. So I'll just do the same thing with the little ones in between. This is the part where I start to get more excited with the model, where I'm nearly finished with the little details. When I start to get really bored with a model, it's when I've got lots of the same thing. Like when I'm putting hair on a model, I just about lose the will to live because it just takes so long. I'm just going to get that in line and drag it on. I'll do. Right, fingertips. And I've actually put these on too far towards the middle, so I'm just going to drag them over, drag them over. Oh, do that again. That's fine. Yep. Done. Now, one thing that I've kind of done a bit wrong here is he's got a bit of a forehead. And I just need to pop that in because it makes the character look a bit sweeter and cuter. If I can do that, it'll help a bit. Just bring that forehead in. And softens it off and makes him look less snaky. Oh, sticky fingers again. Nearly done with that. I think that where I've put the nose has made him look a little bit snakier than he should. This is just where you can do final touches on something that's been done for a while and still get a good result. So there we go. Drag that down from there, and that softened him out nicely. Just broke the little doodle bobbers on his side. Flatten them out. It's all good. Pop them back out again. There we go. And let's just pop these ones back out again. Done. Right. A little bit of water again, and just smooth down the front of him. Yeah, it's starting to look more right. Okay, so that's kind of the face now. Whoop, hang on, where are we? That's the face now. Starting to look a little bit better. And he's still not as cute as I'd like him to be, but it's better. There's the rest of his body and under the wings. And he's got quite a lot of control, so I can wibble this around. If I've got this on a cake and I'm delivering it, it'll move around a bit. I might put a support in the cake for the wings, but it's not really necessary. Worst thing that'll happen is they'll crack a little bit underneath, but you just hit them with a blowtorch and they'll come back smooth. They'll all come back together nicely. So that's good. So I'll just keep smoothing the character down now. I've got the main parts on. He did have a little ridge down the middle of his head, so I'm going to put the ridge in. Don't know. Smooth that off. I'll put a ridge down his back. Kind of want to give him shoulders as well, because I've stolen his shoulders from him with the wings. So if I put a shoulder there, fill in the back here. Again, this is just about making the character look a little bit more credible with building things like musculature into them. It's not a huge thing, it's really not necessary, but it just helps to blend the shapes of the body better and make it look more like the body can actually hold the wings up and it's not just being held up by, what's it called, by wire. That's all good. So let's keep working some of that through. This is almost like working with clay. That's why I really love working with the modeling chocolate more so than any other product, because you can just build it up and build it up and build it up and cut it back and build it up, and you get something that works and looks a lot more smooth and natural. Go that way. Down. Drag that way. Good. Sort of shape that out a bit more. Because otherwise it's just too flat. Done, better. And smooth that a bit more. All right, I'm just going to twitch the mouth open again. And bend that back, close it up. So it's just got a cute little mouth again. Drag that across and just take all the excess out. So, into the crud. Done, and drag. Oh, I'm not in this shot. That'd be right. Done. More. Right, and where's my side view? So if I look at the side view, that's a good way for me to see how the legs are supposed to be. So, side view, that's how my legs are supposed to be. And I'm not far off. I'm just going to gently twist in the front a bit more. And cut them nicer. Back needs to go forward a bit more. But that's pretty much it. It's all just minor finishes from here. So I can, now I've got the back smooth, I'll put a ridge of spines and then I'll finish the video up, and you can sort of extrapolate from here. It's just a case of adding tiny details to it to finish it off and really make it look complete and make it look like you've cared for it more than you probably did. So, well, I'm speaking more for me there, but yeah. Done. This will end up being the spines. Line that up. Yeah. And I'll just finish that there. Then what I can do is go back in and poke them. I've got nice little spines. So is it perfect? No. Will it do? Yeah. If this was on a kid's cake, would they be thrilled? Yeah. Well, kids are pretty critical these days, but still. Bend that up. So bend that up. I can really reposition the character, even though it's been here setting for quite a while. I can lift it up to give it a nicer wingspan. Drag that through. And that's pretty much it. That's my little character done. I'm just going to hit him with a bit of heat. I'll smooth that wing off. Hit him with a little bit of heat just to smooth his face off again. It just unifies it all, brings it all back in. And same with the wings. If I hit that with a bit of heat, it just makes them go all shiny. It will settle back down to a matte color, but it just helps to lock it all in place. So, there we go. So the only issue with doing this is that once you've done it, it sets the surface. So the surface will go a little bit crusty if you try and reposition anything. But it really unifies all the chocolate, gets rid of any really crazy kind of lumps and bumps, gets rid of a lot of marks. Just gives you a much nicer surface to work with in general. Much better finish. Okay, done on that one. Done. Smooth that down. So that's it. That's my finished model. He's all done and dusted. I'm going to put toenails on and just finish shaping out the feet, but that'll all be done kind of where no one's able to see it anyway, so there's not much point in doing that there. So I'll just make sure that that can be seen. I'll get rid of that. Done. And hopefully I say, the camera hasn't fuzzed out too much, so you can see how the actual model looks. So yeah, I'll give him toenails and I'll finish shaping him out really nicely. Now the coolest thing is that I can, where's my scissors gone? Oh no, they're gonna be too thin. And the coolest thing is that I can cut that off Then I've got a freestanding model. Whoop, pinch my hand. So I'll pinch that out of the way. So then I've got a freestanding model that I can position on a cake any way that I want. And I can reposition his legs, and he's not stabbed into the cake. I can reposition the tail if I really want. And yes, it will all set up, but that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. So if I put one leg up, obviously I'd clean it up a bit better. Put this one back, smooth that down, and where are we? So you'd have a character like that that's like shaped a lot better and a lot happier. Oh, sorry, just shaping that out. Here we go. Yeah, so you can position him on rocks and do all sorts of things with him. So you've got a character that's more interesting to look at than just a static character. And that's one that's not stabbed into the cake, it's just resting there. And you could really secure that quite well. There, now it looks like he's all staring up at the camera. So hopefully that's good. But yeah, that's just a case of I'll go in and add some more details, add a few little more spines, add a little highlight to his eye with a little dot of cocoa butter and white. And that's my Toothless character all done and dusted. So thank you so much for watching. I know that this one's been a crazy long video. If you've got any questions about modeling chocolate, just ask them in the Facebook feed here or anywhere else. Just message me. The recipe for my modeling chocolate is on robertscakesandcooking.com. And otherwise, thank you so much. I'm sorry about the quality of the video, but hopefully that gives you an idea of just how awesome modeling chocolate is and how fast you can make a really quality, good, solid character. So anyway, thank you again. Have an awesome day, and yeah, I'll post another one of these hopefully when I've got faster internet. Cheers.